If we're going to do the energy transition successfully, that means that we've got to treble the size of the grid and expand the amount of electrical storage of energy that we've got by potentially thousands of times. This is a large capital investment, probably in the order of £2 trillion over 30 years, 40 years. And this kind of investment, if it's paid through the bill by ratepayers, means that energy bills will have to keep on increasing, or at least stay very high, even if the cost of generation went to zero. Even if we found out a way to generate electricity for free, maybe like fusion, or wind and solar energy became so cheap that it was realistic to generate it for free, the energy bill would still rise because of the infrastructure needed to get to a net zero economy. So why should we start paying through it via taxation instead of ratepayers? So when we pay by ratepayers, it actually benefits the richest consumers the most, because rich consumers are able to invest in their own pieces of infrastructure which allow them to not have to use the grid at certain times. However, it's never reasonable for anyone to invest so much that they can go completely off grid without the use of fossil fuels, and especially within a city environment, and maintain quality of life. Which means that when people go off grid, when people buy their own wind and solar, or their own solar and batteries for their house, they're not really going off grid. They're reducing their reliance on the grid. The problem is that when they actually do need the grid, it's the same exact time that everyone else needs it. And the size of the grid, and therefore the capital expenditure to build the grid, is based on the most stressful times. And that means that the size and the cost is based on the times when everyone's using it, including those people that have gone partially off grid. So that means that even if they basically pay and get lower bills by investing, but they actually stop contributing to the capital investment on the grid, and at the same time they still need it, and the grid needs to be the same size. So it's a false economy which rewards people that have got cash to spend right now and gives short-term benefits at the expense of long-term resiliency. Resiliency is the name of the game with electricity grids. The reason that we've got a resilient electricity system, one that can protect the poorest consumer even in a blackout, is because we invested a long time ago in a lot of spare capacity. Almost everything, including the rollout of gigawatts and gigawatts of wind energy, has been possible because of the spare capacity that was built into the system from the very beginning, including all the electrical protection, the miles and miles of electrical cables, and even the design of power plants and frequency control, which meant that we could lose significant amounts of synchronous generation and still maintain relatively good frequency control. So lots of the spare capacity that was built into it from the 50s and has stopped a major blackout from ever happening is now being eaten up by these moves to net zero without being compensated. And so we're hyper focused on efficiency in the short term, and it's going to lead to a lack of resiliency in the long term. And what we think we're doing is minimizing costs and minimizing environmental impact now. What we're really doing is removing optionality from the future and removing capacity from the future. And that's unfair to future generations. So to move it away from a situation where those that have got resources now can financially benefit, and towards a situation where the grid continues to be designed and maintained in the interests of the majority of people, we need to focus back on investing for the population through centralized investment in infrastructure. And in the electricity context, that means we need to start investing through using money through taxation. In theory is already progressive, with the highest earners paying the most. And it means that individual low-income consumers are not given optionality in terms of using electricity and not having resources taken away from them. And this ties into the how to do net zero fairly, protect the poor consumers.